Hello. Thank you for joining me and my guest today. I'm Sandy Walden from Serenity, Master Grief Coach and Master Grief Coach Trainer. Today, I am so grateful and excited because I'm joined by the Reverend Debbie Mallison. Debbie, would you please tell us a little bit about who you are?
I will. Thank you, Sandy, first of all, for having these sessions. I hope they'll be very helpful. I am an ordained spiritualist minister, a certified medium, and a national spiritualist teacher through the NSAC, which is the National Spiritualist Association of Churches. I
Per-
pastor a spiritualist church in West Dallas.
And so I think maybe the first thing I want to start asking you, and I'm so grateful that you're giving me this time to ask these questions. And folks, thank you all for sending me questions. I've got so many written down. Um, can we start off, first of all, by talking about what is a medium?
Mhm. So a medium, there's two things. I'm going to give two definitions, a psychic and a medium, because they're actually different and people get confused about that a lot. So a medium is someone who can open their mind, raise their vibration, and connect with a soul that's transitioned to the other side, a specific soul, and have a conversation with that soul. A psychic is someone who's going to read the energy that's around you. That's their energy reading yours. So if you see a psychic, you're going to get information like, you know what, I feel like you're going to do really well with that job interview, or I see you moving in a few weeks. That's all psychic information. So mediumship is going to be, we're going to connect with a specific spirit, and we're going to be able to identify that spirit because they're going to give us information about themselves that we can say definitively, this is who we're talking to. Characteristics, memories, physical descriptions that will allow the other person to say, okay, I know that that is my family member. And after we do that, then usually we can have a conversation of some sort with that spirit, although it's different from obviously a conversation like you and I are having.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So, because I'm sort of more basic,
Mhm.
I always think about it as like you're this wonderful, rather grand radio transmitter that I may not get the signals or I have not had the ability to translate them. And that's probably not the right language, but you're that person who is delivering that message to me. Is that accurate?
I think that's a wonderful way to explain it. I love that metaphor. I may steal that. Um,
It's
I
yours.
that's very good because this is an ability that everybody has should they decide to develop it. It's just the work. It's just like we all have legs, so in theory we can all run a race, but we can't really, right? You have to work those legs and develop them, get them ready. And spirit communication is the same sort of thing. It's not anybody has that potential. It's a matter of working that muscle and getting it to open up and learn how to work it. So yeah, we are a channel. We allow those mental, it's mental communication, mind to mind communication.
Okay, I love that. That really helps a lot. So if I'm missing someone who has died, how long should I wait before contacting a medium? If they died this morning at 6 a.m., am I going to get a reading from you? What is it, 10 a.m. now? Do I need to wait 6 months, 3 years? Is there a timeline that is sort of a guide, or what am I guided by?
There is no one answer to that. I have done readings and known people that have done readings within hours of someone's passing. There's others where it takes years. And the reason there's no real hard line on that is up to the person that passed. That is their decision. We don't know, of course, till we get there, what kind of skill it is to turn around and come back. But they do seem to have to acquire that knowledge. So, very often, if you have someone who's been ill for a long time, they've been sort of hopping in and out of this world and that world, and they can come through much quicker. There's no definitive answer at all. Again, I've personally done people within hours or weeks or years. I will say that many mediums have their own criteria for that. There are many mediums that will say, I like it to be this period of time before I will try to do a reading. And part of that is they can't guarantee. You know, you cannot guarantee. It's not direct dial. Your loved one could pass at 8 o'clock this morning, and at 10 o'clock, you're going to get Grandma Sue from 20 years ago, and you're not going to be happy. But it is not direct dial. You can't say, I want to speak to my person because they passed. I don't want to hear from anybody else. It doesn't work that way. It is all vibrational. It's all up to them. We do not control at all who comes through or when they come through. So a lot of mediums have that boundary in place because it's such a huge disappointment for someone who would do that. So, I mean, you can say to them, I'm not guaranteeing it, but they're not really hearing it in that moment of grief. So there is no definitive answer. It's really the medium, up to the medium and the person. You have to be ready to hear that your loved one is functioning away from you. And I've learned over the years, for some people, you want to know they're okay, but it is a fine line between knowing they're okay and being ready to accept that they're living still, just different. There are people that really conflict with that. So that's another reason with making sure that you're at a place where you can handle that information.
That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. So if I'm contacting you for the first time, I don't know you and you don't know me, is it helpful for me to say, hi, Reverend Debbie, my name is Sandy Walden, and I'm really missing my son. He died 11 years ago. This is how he died. This is what I miss about him. I want you to tell me A, B, and C, and these were his hobbies. Is that what you need from me?
No, that is what we don't want from you. First of all, and we're going to really go into this because there's a difference between what information you give and then leading the medium. So first of all, with any medium, you just give your name and make an appointment. We already assume you have people over there. You wouldn't need to contact us. Secondly, it is not direct dial. So if you're coming to a medium saying, I only want to hear from this person, that's a lot of stress on everybody because we can't guarantee that. Your person over there can't guarantee that either they're ready or that they're going to be able to do it that day. And again, just other things to throw in. Remember, this is all vibrational. Everything is a vibration. Everything in the world, nothing's really solid. So vibrationally, we don't connect with every person we meet here on Earth. And in spirit, it's the same thing. Not every spirit can come through every medium. So it is not always personal. So the information that you need to give is just your name. You would like to set up an appointment or reading, either of those words work. And then it's a matter of working out what time. To give names and all of that, it's too much information.
Okay. So
now,
oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
Go ahead.
If I give you my son's name, I feel like then I might question, oh, did you really hear that from him or did I supply it? So are you saying this is protecting that integrity?
It is protecting integrity. And it is also, it's going to, if I have too much, or any medium has too much information up front, some of the information they're going to get to prove it's your loved one, they've already got, and that's going to be harder. It's not even like we can say to the spirit, they're going to bring through whatever information or validation, we call it, that they choose to give. Well, if you've already given that, I'm going to be saying, I can't use that. And, it's a whole conversation with us. So, and I have also found, by the way, that not every spirit wants to relive how they crossed over and over and over again every time. That memory, they don't carry that memory. We carry it. They are pulled and they leave right before that end moment. They do not carry that. They tell us this over and over again. So think about every time for 20 years you come through, you have to relive that moment. They don't want to do that. They had a life of some sort. They want to bring up those memories. So that's part of it as well. You don't need that information. So no, you set up an appointment and whatever happens, happens. Most mediums, I know how I work, and I think most work like this. We don't guarantee anything. We will say, we'll set up an appointment and see what happens. We can't promise. Most people come to any reading and they have this little tiny group of people they want to hear from, sometimes one, and that's fine, but then their mind isn't open to what else they hear. And anybody else that steps in who wants to communicate, they're throwing it out, they're not hearing it. And you have to think, if you go visit somebody and you pull in the driveway and the front door is closed and locked, all the curtains are closed, so you're going to leave, right? Because you're not welcome. So you have to kind of think of it like that. You have these people still existing on the other side. They are energy still existing, and they work to come through, and they're being tossed aside because, well, that's not the one they want to hear from. It's kind of not really nice. So you want to come, everybody's going to come to a reading with an idea of who they want to hear from, and many times that will work. However, there are times when it doesn't. And in those times, if other people are coming through, to sort of slam the door on those people, you might be missing out on information that's important for you. They may be with your loved one. So maybe your loved one isn't ready for this, but they're with your loved one and they could tell you that, but you're not receiving it because that's not the one. So coming into a reading, you need to, as difficult as it is, I'm not pretending it wouldn't be when I'm coming to someone in grief. So I don't at all discount that. However, for the way this works, because it's not direct dial, it's not an exact science even. It's all mind-to-mind communication, interpretation. So you have to have a bit of okay, this isn't where I thought it would go, but okay. And then there are times when maybe you have one or two, maybe three people come through, and then your loved one comes through. And we don't know why that is. Again, that isn't ours to know. So you would miss all of that. If you sort of blow off anybody else, you could miss the opportunity. And I have that happen where, I get this one, and I can see the person's disappointed, but it's like, there's a reason for this. There's a reason and purpose. Nothing is wasted. It's important to come into the reading like, I really want to hear from so-and-so, but I have to try to be open with all of that.
So if one of my favorite uncles comes through when I think I want to talk to Mikey, it would benefit me and probably them if I'd say, hey, happy to hear from you. What have you got to share? And then
Yes.
it evolves from there.
Yes.
So another question I have, because it comes up a lot, is I will talk to people who are so afraid to respond. We've seen news reports or read something or heard stories of the medium who's doing a cold reading. And so people often think that they should sit and be very stoic, no smiling, no sadness. Can you explain to me what is too much when you're telling me things as opposed to what you need to keep going? Should I be responding, and to what level, to help the reading keep going in a way that's helpful and effective?
First of all, the TV shows have given mediumship a lot of education to people. They've also made it really hard because please remember they're edited. They're edited. So you saw the times that they did it right. You didn't see the other 8 times they missed completely because of course that's not going to make any money. So again, we have to understand this is all energy. So the spirit is energy. It needs our energy to communicate. The stronger energy we have, the stronger they get. They build from that. So there is a difference between hearing that it is your loved one and allowing your face and your emotions to come in and what that's done right away is, again, metaphorically, we're in your driveway and you've thrown open the curtains and opened the door. We're coming right in, right? So the spirit is feeling like that. They want me. They live off energy. They feel that rise in your emotion and it just feeds them. And the connection with the medium to the spirit gets stronger, and the connection, all 3 of us are connecting, right? It's stronger. So to sit and be stoic and be a closed door and windows closed, you're not going to get as good a reading because the spirit can't get any energy from you, can't feed from you. The whole reading and the medium, let's face it, we're human first. Our confidence is slowly going down to the basement because we're thinking, well, this must be a total waste of time. because there's no reaction from the person. I don't know who I'm talking to now. And so inside, again, we're human first. We're collapsing inside. So it's the what people worry about with feeding the medium, and it's a legitimate thing. So if I say to you, or a medium says to you, does this make sense to you? Yes, it does. Okay, good. Now we feel stronger. The energy's stronger, and we'll keep going. What you don't want to say is, yes, it does, because you know what? He never cut his hair the last 2 years, and we used to argue about it all the time. Nope, stop right there. So the yes or no tied me to you, made me feel like, okay, so I've got someone, we're on the right track, and it feeds everything, and the emotion is higher. Or you see it in someone's face, just that reaction. So the spirit feels wanted, and my confidence or the medium's confidence is good. All the energy in the room lifts up. Even if you're crying, it's still energy, and all of this works off energy. All of it. You have to remember that. So to get a good reading, to sit, and I know there's a lot of reading about that. Don't show, don't show, don't show. And again, it's too extreme, because they are people also. So if they worked so hard to come to their loved one who's like this, and they're thinking, I'm working so hard, right, to give this information, and there's my person, nothing. It'll kill the whole connection. So again, answering yes or no is necessary. Am I going in the right direction? Do you know this person? Yes. Okay, good. To not have anything to play back, you just get, the whole thing will fall apart. So that's a very fine line.
That makes sense. So in other words, when you tell me, because we've known each other for a while,
Yeah.
so when you tell me that my boy is coming through in his red and plaid black shirt, it's enough for me to say, yes, that makes sense to me. It would be overkill for me to say, oh yeah, there was a whole closet full of those, and I
Yes.
still, okay.
Yes.
So affirming or saying, I don't get it, is helpful.
Yes.
So something I've always done too is I take lots and lots of notes when I'm talking to
Yes.
someone, because I have often found that something you say to me during a reading, I might not get at the time, but I might at 3 a.m. or later on in the week. Is that common with people?
It's very common. And again, people have a set people they want to hear from. They have set information they want to hear. So you have to remember this whole situation. This person in spirit looks at life and whoever you're giving the reading to from their point of view. So they're seeing everything that happened different. So they may say something that doesn't resonate, and when you get the other person going, nope, you're wrong, just accept the information. Because first of all, they never waste anything. They don't just come through to gossip or pass the time of day. It takes too much energy for them to work. It's very good. Write it down and think about it. It may be a week, 2 weeks, it may be next Christmas, because maybe it was a Christmas thing and you're all of a sudden like, oh my gosh, we do that at Christmas. Again, when you definitively cut someone off, cut off spirit, cut off the medium, you are effectively lowering and killing that connection, because to them, that memory that they're bringing through, that was a big deal. And now you've just like looked at them, their loved one, and yeah, no, you're wrong. So now my confidence is going. The spirit is like, because again, this is another important thing. So we want to hear about this and this memory, because boy, I remember that one time we went out to dinner that they have to remember that night. It was so great. No, you know what? Maybe from their point of view, oh my God, I have to sit through this dinner. They're never bringing that up, right? So they're going to bring up things that for them are important. They're not necessarily important for us. So their evidence is not always going to be ours. So that is another reason it's super important to accept it. Again, remembering any medium should establish, first of all, that this is your loved one. So using Mike, and we've done Mike so many times that we don't have to do as much, but in the beginning, there was things that I would go through several things, like to make sure, because you want to make sure. So the client should already be convinced that this is their loved one. So anything that said they should accept following that, again, with the understanding, this person looked at their life from their set of eyes, not our set of eyes. And especially if we're talking children or young people, They saw everything different than we saw it, and they may remember that that mom always made chicken on Thursday nights. Now, we may never have remembered that, but from a kid's point of view, so you have to accept everything. And by saying that, also remember, nothing is 100%. This is mind to mind communication. There is interpretation in the mind of the medium. So there are things that we're going to see here in our minds, and when they come out our mouths, maybe we do interpret it wrong. And we try to teach, like I try to bring it out literal first and then metaphoric, because sometimes they'll show us something and it's a symbol, but sometimes it's the real thing. I had someone once, this woman showed me a carrot. Like, that was her evidence, was a carrot, and I like wanted to just crawl in. I'm like, she's showing me a carrot, and I wanted to just go home now, because I was just sure, and it was in church. But I gave it because I was shown a carrot, and this woman came up to me afterwards in tears, and she said her aunt always made carrot soup. So just hearing carrot, that was it. So you never know what, so you never know if it's being interpreted wrong. Every medium works their own way. For me, I'm always going to give it literal first, like I'm seeing a plaid shirt. Now, maybe it's a plaid shirt just to see a plaid shirt, or maybe a plaid shirt was something you hated, and so that's going to be a bigger conversation. But I'm first going to say a plaid shirt, and then if he gives me more, I'll give you more. But again, accept the information. When people start shaking their heads and saying, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're cutting the medium's energy, but you have to remember that you're talking to your loved one through the medium. When you cut off what they're saying, you're cutting off the energy. Again, it's all on energy. So if you don't get it, it's okay to say, I don't get it, but I'll write it down. There's nothing wrong with it. And maybe out of 10 things, 8 of them are right, 2 of them make no sense. Then just throw that out. Because again, this isn't an exact science,
Well, and that makes sense too. I think about, I have 3 grandchildren, and what makes sense to one doesn't make sense to the other one. Then the third one thinks I've lost my mind or is simply disinterested. So communication, even when we're speaking the same language face to face
Yeah.
in our physical existence, can be murky. So that makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to ask you a few questions about our loved ones on the other side, if that's all right with you. Do they know that they've died?
And that's a very, very big question. So, and there's a lot of fallacies. The reason that question is asked so much, there are a lot of really fake shows on TV that talk about stuck spirits and things like that. Let me assure you, from all my years of communication, we are energy. We leave this body. We live in energy. Energy is formless. I tell people, think of electricity. You can never see it, right? But it's all over your house. Spirit is energy. They cannot be trapped. You can't trap energy. What they can do is there may be a piece of them that relives something because they're processing what happened, or maybe they really like their family home and they're not ready to go, so their energy stays in that house, part of their energy, and that's not a harmful thing, So do they know they're dead? That usually, yes, they do. It can take some time if it's very quick, and if the person, many I bring through had an impending sense. They will come through and say, the last couple of years I was having weird thoughts, or I knew all my life I wasn't going to be here long, things like that. And those people don't struggle at all. There's this innate part. We're told that our soul starts preparing us ahead of time. So nothing is ever a shock, because we can never, ever leave this body until it's time. It can't happen.
That's really important. Can you say that again?
Yes. We can never, ever leave this body before it's time. It doesn't happen. When you, and proof of that is when you talk with people who have said, You read about a car accident, they rolled that car 4 times, miraculously walked away, and they'll say it's a miracle. No, it isn't. It wasn't their time. Other people can have a fender bender and they transition. When it's your time to go, there is nothing you can do to stop that because it's your time to go. If you stayed in bed all day with the covers over your head, you just suffocate. It's your day. That's all planned by God, whatever your belief system is. One thing is told to us over and over again. And they are at peace with it when they're there. No one goes over there and is clawing and fighting to get back. Never. I've never had that message. I have never had anyone remember pain, remember suffering, ever, ever. That memory is for us here. They leave the body right before that final moment. They do not live that. They are pulled. I am told that over and over and over again. It's so important for people to know.
And that's something I don't think we can say enough. So I thank you for that. I thank you for that. So I work with an awful lot of people who have lost someone to suicide. And so many are told that their loved one is going to be punished, either for a duration of time or forever, or that they're lost somehow. Is there retribution? Is there punishment? Are they suffering on the other side? If they ended their own life, if they hurt someone else, perhaps they hurt someone badly or even murdered someone, are they being punished on the other side?
Absolutely not. I have never ever, and I've, like any other medium, brought through my share of people that left that way, because what it is an exit point. As traumatic as it is for us, it's an exit point. And what we are taught is that our soul, before we come here, we have experiences, we have things that we have to do, and every journey is different. Everyone's time frame for that is different. And when it's time to leave, they leave. The other world, God, heaven, all of that is about love. I have never, ever, ever, I swear to you, ever had anyone talk to me about punishment, retribution, living in limbo, some kind of man-made hell. And again, having to remember, without going into religion, but Orthodox religion many, many, many thousands of years ago started with the need to control. It was man needing to control. And that is not, had been my experience, or any medium I know has ever been told that. That is a human response. We automatically go to good, bad, no in between. That's how humans are. That's not what it really is. That is the way they leave. I've had many suicides that come through, and their job over there is to come back and work with others who are going through that. And they will show me sometimes them sitting in groups similar to yours or others, or they're working with people who transition like that, and they're waiting for them to receive them. That was their job. In order to do their job, they experienced it themselves. But what I've never had, and many of them, by the way, that leave that way, because that's all it is leaving that way. It's not an ending. Leave that way, tell me they always knew. They always knew they were going to leave early. You know, they didn't, when you're a child or a teen, you're not processing why you feel that way. But you're always being prepared. So they always kind of knew. So many of them say that. That doesn't to take away from what the family goes through, the trauma, the grief of that physical loss here, not at all. But when you reach a point where you can kind of adjust your thinking a little bit, they are never, I promise you, I've never, and I've brought some through really quick, and they are just fine. That is just their method of stepping over. And I don't mean to make light of that, by the way.
That's not. That's actually the most respectful way I can imagine it being put. And I happen to agree that that's the door they went through.
Yes.
But that helps so much, because that's a major fear. So many people I hear, and it breaks my heart when I hear them say, can I tell them I'm sorry? I wasn't a good enough mother, father, son, daughter, wife, spouse, sibling, friend. Are they angry with me? Have they forgiven me because I yelled? I was short-tempered. I didn't understand. They had mental illness and I poo-pooed it. I couldn't relieve their physical pain before they died. Can they forgive me? Are they going to be angry with me forever? And is it wrong if I forgive myself?
You have to forgive yourself and know they are not going to stay angry. And many conversations I have with them is please tell them, I'm fine. I get it. Um, we are humans having an experience and learning lessons. And you learn lessons, you do things. We're not born perfect, we're not born all knowing. And remembering at some point, in some way, and again, not belittling grief, but in some way knowing that was how they were going to leave no matter what. I mean, no matter what. We have people who in horrendous situations that shouldn't make it past a year old, and they do. Why? It's just not their time. So we're always as humans going to feel that shoulda, woulda, coulda, right? Society does that to us, by the way, not God, not spirit. Society does that to us. We're always going to have, you have to let go of it because they've let go of it. And it's hard for them. They want to move on and feel all the love and joy they're surrounded with, and they can feel that their loved one feels bad, and they want to relieve that so that they can feel freer too. So if you want to look at it both ways too, they want to see that you're moving on and they want to see that. So it works both ways. We do what we do. Again, that exit point, that transition, that stepping over, going through the door, we are taught is already decided. The messages I get have always been consistent with that teaching. And again, not to belittle the pain that it causes us here. We envision this is our life is going to look like this, and we have this picture. And in this picture, all these people stay together forever. Our picture never consisted of somebody being pulled out. We don't know how to look at that picture. But in spirit, that always was our picture. We can't see. I use, a tapestry. There's all these individual spools of thread, all different colors, all beautiful, individual, and unique. And they're all woven together to make a masterpiece of life. We don't have the ability, and we're not supposed to as humans, to have the ability to see what part in that masterpiece we play. But in that whole creation, it's already decided who's going to be there for what amount of time. We're not God. It wasn't ours to decide. So that's how I look at it.
So the regret that we have, the pain and anguish that we feel about what we said, what we did, what we didn't say, what we didn't do, about the aches that we weren't able to ease, or that we didn't know about, the mistakes we made, they're done with that. They've moved on from it.
They're
and
done.
They're reaching back in love. Am I understanding you?
Yes, exactly right. And remember also that you can, and in grieving and as you teach this, but you can say that to them if that helps you. You can say in your mind or out loud, or you can write it down. I have people that do all three, whatever method works for you. Some people feel like it's more real if they write it down. Go ahead. Say it out loud when you're alone in a room. Who cares? But you can say it and they can feel that. And if it gives you relief to just say it, I just need to say it, I just need them to know, then do it. Because then you can release it, because they've already released it. They are released from their pain. Their human life, our souls are always beautiful and perfect. We walk this journey in a human body to develop the character of our soul, to have experiences, to learn about humanity, to learn more about unconditional love, which is the ultimate goal for all souls. So we are going to have these experiences. It's an experience for them. They've let go of that over there. They had to feel that pain. They're released from that. Thank you. They're released from that. They want to release us as well.
Awesome. I have a million different questions for you, and I know that we're getting long, so I'll try and I've got whole pages for our next conversation. But I guess what I'm hearing, bottom line, is the fear and the worry and the pain that we're holding on to is very human. and that what they are is this most wonderful connection that's loving. And what
Yeah.
I've heard from you again and again, and yes, we've known each other for a while, but I want to tell people something I find fascinating. Even though we've talked so many times, you always bring something through that you didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's always a new piece of added credibility. And I love
Yeah.
that. And it's not always my son, although he's very persistent, but he's as funny there as he was here. He's as
Yeah, he
witty
is.
and dry and sometimes sarcastic and usually impatient and excited because that's who he is.
Yeah.
And I find that to be incredibly joyful. And when you've brought other people through, it's the same thing. They are who they are, but without anger, without sometimes
Mhm.
frustrated, because I'm sure mom still ticks them off every now and then, but just in a wonderful, wonderful way. So I, what we think of as the frustration and the hurt and the worry and unforgiveness that we're holding is very human.
It's very human. It's what we're here to feel and work through it. And what I tell people is feel everything. Because if you feel it deeply and allow the experience of feeling it, you'll move forward. If you bury it and pretend, you're never going to really move forward. You have to feel all those things. You have to go through that. Again, it would be inhuman to not feel those feelings, but then move on from them, knowing that they're not feeling those feelings. And they
So
should always, what you just touched on, I want to stress again, for
yes.
any medium you go to, there should always be something that ties it. I don't care how many, I mean, you and I, once a year, however often we meet. Again, every medium has their boundaries about time frames too. But I will always say to him, you have to give me something. You have to give me something new. Because first of all, I have to assure myself, because I've spoken to him so many times, you get to be like friends. And so it's like, no. First of all, it's very easy for me to connect to him. So he has to give new information. That should always happen. With any medium, should never mind that, doing that.
And I have to say that's kind of fun too. There's never been a worry that he wouldn't give anything new. And he sometimes reminds me of things that I had long forgotten. And it's always a joyful experience. So this connecting with our loved ones, it's imperfect, but I'm reminded that even my communication face to face with somebody 4 feet away from me is imperfect at best as well. But it's always wondrous, always wondrous. Debbie, thank you so much for joining me today. Um, we're going to continue these conversations because we have so many more questions, and I can't thank you enough for sharing your experience with us and your heart with us. It's amazing.
Well, I thank you for giving me this opportunity, because it the understanding of all this, I think, is important for people that want to experience this. You need to really understand what it is first. It'll change the experience. So thank you.
Wonderful. And I want to thank all of you for joining us today. I'm going to put Debbie's contact information in print so that you don't have to worry about me garbling something. And continue to submit your questions, your thoughts, any concerns you have, because we want to address it. There is nothing in my mind, and Debbie, please correct me if I'm wrong, there's nothing more important than having that connection with people we love. And the more direct and frank and honest we can be, the more love and healing that we can feel.
Yep, absolutely.
Perfect.
Absolutely, Sandy.
So thank you, Debbie, for being
Thank
with me
you.
today. Oh, my love and
Right
gratitude.
back at you.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
all for joining us, and we will see you very soon.
Okay.